No, so I've got a friend of mine who I consider a genius, and I was very fortunate to meet him whilst I was going to uni, and
Mm.
he's like a uh hmm. It's like I'm a millennial and he's like a Gen Xer.
Mm.
I assume you're probably Gen Xer as
I'm a
well,
boomer,
or
dude.
oh really?
Yeah.
You look good. You look good for a boomer. So
Thank you, man. I try. I try.
youngest boomer around.
Yeah, there's a reason why I wear this cap, by the way. So,
Oh,
I keep,
right. Gotcha.
the face is okay, but the
Yeah,
hair, oh man, the hair's,
yeah.
it's getting a beating, taking a beating. Anyway, go ahead.
Actually, it's all right. I've seen no, I think I've seen videos about the
I've
cat.
had a couple. Yeah, I'm trying.
You're fine.
Well, I got like,
Oh, dude,
it's
that's nothing.
it's thinning. I mean, compared to what I was used to growing
No,
up, dude. Because
dude,
I used to have hair
don't even.
down to to my like the middle of my back. Back
Right.
when I was a rocker, playing in bands and stuff. But thick horsehair
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
man.
yeah. Right.
But so anyway,
Okay.
keep
All
going,
right.
keep going.
Well, it looks great anyway.
Oh, thanks, brother.
Yeah, yeah. Um.
So you're talking about
Uh.
this guy who you
Yeah.
considered a genius, yeah.
Yeah. He's like he's amazing, and he's actually we kind of joke around about it, but he's a doctor of music.
Oh,
So
yeah.
um
Wow.
um but he actually owned. I met him, and we're both huge. We connected because we're both huge Holdsworth fans.
Yeah.
So he's like I used to go to this music studio a lot, and then this guy took over, and it was him. And and we just started talking, and he just asked me, he's like, what are your most influential
Hmm.
um yeah, musicians? And I just said,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a guy I've been getting into, Alan Holdsworth. And he's like, oh. And then we, from then on,
Bing.
yeah,
Yeah.
we started hanging out, and I kind of then, he started to like, he was a very humble guy, and he started to like reveal,
Mm.
became apparent how, brilliant at music he was. Like,
Mm.
amazing is. And he so whilst I was going to uni, he used to like take the piss out of me, because I
Mm.
would like, we'd be talking about chords and stuff, and I'd be like giving these names, like really elaborate names, like, oh, it's a dominant
Yeah.
natural 13 flat 9 chord, and he's like, dude, it's just F over A, stop. Like, it's
Exactly.
so much more simple than that. And I was really looking
That's
at
a
it, and
great point, man.
it's a yeah,
That's a really good point.
yeah, it really like changed actually the
Wow.
way I thought about harmony after that, because I was,
Oh
learning all
my
these,
God.
like, I kind of learned the jazz way
Yeah,
of like analyzing chords, which is like
exactly.
really elaborate names,
Yep.
which I think is as good. And that's what I was talking about before, about looking at it from different angles
Mm.
is super helpful.
Mm.
Because if you know the quality of the chord,
Yeah.
that's useful,
Hmm.
because those, I guess those names kind of give you a formula
Yeah.
for what scale you can use or whatever. But if you just know that it's like these two triads or something like that, it
That,
it
oh
simplifies
my
things on a
gosh.
whole. It's like, and that's like, from there I started like experimenting with, like, if
Hmm.
I'm recording like choral things, which is like really
Mm.
multiple voice things, which is
Yes.
really good for thinking in lines, because that's what it's good.
Yes.
I think that's what it's good for. The triad thing is a more classical way of thinking,
Mm.
because you're thinking lines.
Yeah.
You're not thinking block chords.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thinking each, it's each individual line, so you can split things into triads. You can think like,
Mm.
oh, I've got a group here singing a triad, and another group here singing a
Mm.
triad against that, and then they can
Oh
move in
my
their own kind of thing, so that gives you a whole, it opens up like all this sort of conceptual thinking.
wow. Dude, you're dropping some major wisdom bombs on me with music here that I so appreciate, man. Because I mean, you're right. I mean, like, I've tried to study jazz on my own. it's a nut that you just can't crack. I mean, like the way I went about trying to do it, you just can't learn that way. Buying books, watching videos, you know, because it doesn't make sense when you're isolated doing it.
Yeah.
I think you got to play with other people. You got to play with people that know
Hmm.
it. And like you're saying, this guy was saying, hey, you're kind of looking at it wrong. Why don't you look at it this way? And then
Yeah.
it's like then the sky opens up. And I mean, that's what
Yeah.
you're doing for me right now because
Mm.
harmony, man, when you get into jazz chords, like you're saying, when you're talking about these chords, it's like the naming of it is difficult because then it's just like, man, this sounds complex. Then you play the chord and you're like, oh, it doesn't, the chord itself doesn't sound complex, but the name of the
Mm.
chord is very scary
Yeah.
sounding and everything. How do I use this? When do I use
I
this?
even have a problem with, I always had used to have a problem with because I always wanted to go for these kind of chords regardless if I was doing a jazz thing. I even had a
Mm,
problem when people said like, "Ooh, it's a jazzy chord," because also at the
yes.
time there was a sort of like people were like not so sure
Yeah.
about jazz. Oh, I'm not so, that's a little bit too jazzy.
A little bit of a
And I'd be like,
stigma. Yeah.
yeah, a little bit of a stigma. And I thought that was quite silly because those chords, if you heard it in a different context,
Yeah.
you get these chords in all sorts of music,
Yeah.
and it won't come across as jazzy,
The
you know.
context.
Yeah, depending on the sound and the context and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Man, that yeah, the polychords approaching it that way. And I have heard other people talk about approaching their harmony that way with polychords. And
yeah.
I hear about just like the last thing I heard regarding stacking chords was just play with it. That was the advice. Just play with it.
Yeah.
See what
Yeah.
you like. What do you like?
Yes.
Just
Yes.
sit down there and start playing around with stuff and see what you like. And that's
Absolutely.
that's just such great advice, man.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's really good advice.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah, go ahead.
Because like going back to, you know, when I do these covers and things, it's really fun again to see what I can get away
Hmm.
with almost.
Yeah.
Like the end goal is to um I mean I aim for a certain aesthetic, and I want it to sound as cool as possible. I want to sound as I want to give the right emotions and everything.
Right.
um
Right.
but and then I end up, I don't know, like say you've gone to uni or whatever. I went to uni and I learned all these chords, and then I'm like finding different ways of using the same components,
Mm.
you know. So
Mm.
that's like your experience, you're building up your experience that
Yeah.
way, because you can use the same, because
Mm.
you'd be surprised, like I don't know, like a simple structure of a chord, you can use it the same
Oh.
in so many different ways, and it will
Mm.
sound fresh each
Mm.
time because of depending where it's placed. And
Oh,
I mean that
wow.
sounds kind of obvious now that I'm
Well,
saying it out loud, but
yeah, but it's you got to go to like in your toolbox, you know, you've got these things where you can reach for them and go, okay, you know, I played around with these, I'm familiar, you know,
mm, mm,
I know how to swing a hammer, but you know, I'm going to be building something. I'm not building a house, I'm building something else. So you're applying those
right,
concepts that you're familiar with in a different approach, in a different way.
yeah.
So that I totally get that. When you're reharmonizing, is the original triad anywhere in the chord that you're using?
Oh yeah, sometimes because like part of the research is I consider that part research.
Mm.
um um because those songs, like the harmony is kind of like perfect
Mm-hmm.
in
Right.
those classic songs, and it's
Yeah.
I like I kind of I've had the same epiphanies like at analyzing pop songs, you know,
Mm.
realizing how much they use like sus9 chords. I'm just like, fuck yeah, that sounds
Because they
awesome. But
sound great. I
yeah, because
know,
they
because they
right.
sound great,
Yeah,
man. I
as
know.
simple as I don't know,
I
maybe other
know.
people would be like, oh, that's so simple. How are you
Oh.
just but or using major sevens in the right place because it's a common tone to the
Mhm,
next one. That's like a really
mhm.
like a pop sounding thing
Right.
sometimes. Um so um so yes, I think so. Maybe not in Fix You.
Like with that song and this little section that you did, it's almost like these scene changes. Like if you're watching a movie, it was like the desert, and then Alaska, and then it was like ding
Yeah,
ding ding, these
yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
different scene changes, and that was like, oh my gosh, you know, um,
I'm glad because I do when I listen back, when I'm doing it, yeah, I do feel that sort of
mhm.
it's a very it's a difficult
Yeah, it's hard
um
to explain.
it's difficult to
It
explain, but
is.
there's something uh quite magical, and I feel like I can say that because I don't feel like it's me, those are the
Yeah,
I find these
yeah,
chords, and
yeah.
those are just the chords, those are like, or the harmonies, these are like they're
Mhm.
almost part of nature almost, that
Right.
they're like these manifestations of,
Yeah, yeah.
I just happen to put these notes
Discover
together,
them.
and yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I discover them. I'm just like, oh, that's to me, that's
yeah,
gorgeous. Yeah,
yeah,
let's put it there. Let's do
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So
Uh,
yeah.
I,
By the way, sorry, I
yeah.
just and there is like the bass line. The bass line of the chords are
Oh,
kind of like similar
oh,
in some
yeah.
places
Oh,
at at the very beginning. At the very
I'm,
beginning,
I'm
yeah.
glad you brought that up.
So
So,
it is based a little bit on the chords, but then I sort of extrapolate and yeah,
uh,
and then it
yeah,
goes into another direction at
yeah,
that point.
and then taking advantage of passing chords too, because I noticed, you can do that as well. Is that okay? This chord's kind of in this song, the chords in the song with some embellishments, and this chord's in the song with some embellishments and with some variations to it. But then you have passing chords too, which are a lot of fun because like
Mm,
on some of it, I think I heard you doing these passing chords that were really stretching the rubber band,
right.
and then you land on the strong chord, which that
Yeah.
super super cool. I love that.
I
Um,
think that's just me. If I do it on guitar, I feel a bit cheap, but if I do it on piano, I feel a bit more proud of myself. So
really?
yeah.
Why is it? Why is that? Why is the
It's so
instrument?
easy. It's so easy on the guitar. I don't know. No, no, I'm kidding. Sort of like there's another thing that I'm quite passionate about, and I'm thinking of doing some videos to talk about that as well. Something I'm really passionate about at the moment. At the moment, sorry,
Take a
is
drink.
sound design,
Mm.
like using um getting the most out of your sounds, because there's like
Oh.
some of these chords kind of they work best with like certain sounds. There was something about that. I downloaded that piano sound that's from like Spitfire.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's
Actually,
beautiful.
yeah, I was actually, it's kind of funny story. I was kind of because I got a studio. Sorry, I've got to take some water.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
keep
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
oh
That would be 10 trips to the bathroom right there, that thing
oh
for me.
yeah. I have a pretty good bladder, so it's all right.
Yeah, just wait till you get to be my age, buddy, and your prostate takes over.
All right. Yeah, it's kind of like I did a few. I think yeah, because I go back and forth to Barcelona a lot, and it was just after the pandemic, and I spent a lot of time in Barcelona in the pandemic, and I got like a studio there, and then
Mm,
I was in London with my laptop, so I didn't have a lot of the sounds that
mhm.
I was like a sort of like they became like my go-to sounds. So
Yeah,
I ended up like downloading
yeah.
some samples. So I checked out like a Spitfire Lab
Oh,
don't know if you know that, but they
It's a
have like a
sound
free.
library. I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah,
So it's a sound
yeah,
library? Oh, very
exactly.
cool.
Exactly. And they have like some free, free samples on there, and
Okay.
they have a really cool free like piano. It sounds gorgeous.
Oh,
It's very one dimensional. You can't do
yeah.
anything like hard with it. It's all
Yeah.
very soft. So it's obviously
Oh,
designed just to do like,
oh my
sort of like
gosh.
background stuff. But there's something about that sound,
Yeah.
the soft piano sound, and it was recorded gorgeously. Obviously, props to the
Yeah.
engineers who
Yeah.
created those samples. But
Right.
yeah, the softness of that and the sort of lo-fi-ness, I feel allows certain complex
Mm,
chords, because if you did it on like another sort of very bright
yeah.
and high dynamic piano sound, it wouldn't it wouldn't the I'm sort of getting into this, into like the science of it, but like the overtones just sort of like
Mm,
sometimes don't allow for certain chords
wow.
to be played that way.
Right.
You know, there's some really like gnarly chords. I kind of want to do a video about it, but there's like one chord I did in there where I was like, oof, I've never done that before. It was like E flat over E or something,
Oh,
at
ouch.
one point. Yeah, yeah. But like it kind of it worked
Yeah.
because of where it was placed and the
And
sound,
the
and
sound of it.
it just
Wow.
yeah, it just made sense. It functioned. And
Yeah,
yeah, and
it could slide in there, you know, like two marshmallows stacked on top of each other versus the hardness of like a hard
yeah,
the you know,
exactly.
yeah,
Like
it's different.
a prime example is like,
Hard pads on a piano, kind of a sound.
yeah, right. Or like I don't know, if you wouldn't do that on two guitars unless you wanted to
Yeah,
have like a really like super dissonant
right,
effect, because
right.
it's like something. It's because that's like, I could say like, so those are square waves, and maybe
Yeah,
square waves don't
yeah,
lend themselves
yeah,
so well to certain sounds. And there's
yeah.
other sounds like very soft kind of sine wavy type sounds that seem to
Hmm.
like they lend themselves to
Wow.
these like more complex chords
Wow,
sometimes,
dude.
so
That's that's so
so
brilliant. That's great.
that is something I'm really interested in at the moment, and I'm just like dipping
Mm.
my toes
Oh man, that would be fascinating for you
in
to
that.
do like a
Yeah,
video series on that kind of thing. That would be
yeah, I've been
really,
thinking of this.
oh
Yeah,
man, that would be really cool. Um, so I want to talk a little bit about like some of your projects and like who you've played with, and like because I did a little research and the thing that pops up, and you could tell me because I'd love to do this in chronological order. So what I have on my list here, I've only got a couple things on here, but um that you worked with Brian Nash, Frankie Goes to Hollywood,
yeah,
and then I've got the Ken Sato Experience, and then I got No Name
yes.
Faces. So let's talk about these things. And I'm not sure the chronological order, but what's the earliest thing that you did?
Oh,
And I know you
yeah.
probably have more stuff too. That feel free to add that in there. But this is
Yeah,
all that I.
there are some bands. I don't know whether to name them or not, to be totally honest. There's like there was like a band I who are kind of a big deal, and I sort of like got in as a singer slash, like I was like the male. They had like a female front singer, and I was like the male,
Mm.
like the second singer, backing singer on some parts, and then sometimes lead. and
Oh.
and but that was cool because I did like some tours with them, and
Hmm.
that was like
What group was this?
yeah. I don't know if I want to say.
Oh, you don't have to. Yeah.
Yeah,
No. You don't have to.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe another time. But yeah, I don't know. It was a while ago, and they kind of ended on
Oh,
bad terms, and
okay.
there was some drama around it. So
Gotcha.
I mean, they were cool. They were very nice to me.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm just being a little bit careful.
Yeah,
So
no, that's a no, not at
criterion
all.
careful.
Not at
Yeah.
all. No, that's fine.
But um Um, yeah, and then I had like other bands of my own, you know, with my friends. They were just, yeah, we were just trying to record and
Yeah.
play as much as we could, and um,
Do you gravitate towards the lead singer
no, I'm no,
position, or what were you? Because I've seen a lot of lead singing stuff that you've done
yeah,
online, but you know you're an accomplished guitar player and keyboard player, and you know you even play some drums in there, and it's
yeah.
like yeah, you play the pot lid with a brush really well. Man, I don't know anyone who could play the
I
pot lid like you,
love the
brother.
pot lid. Oh,
That's
that's Lewis
amazing.
Cole. That's me copying Lewis Cole there.
He can't play the pot lid like you, though. I mean, I've heard him. I've heard him play the pot lid. He's no
Man, he's
skeb.
great.
He's
He's
no
great on
skeb
the
on
pot.
the pot lid, my brother. So, yeah. So is it like because I'm trying to hone in on you as like what is the main instrument for you? Is it your vocals? Is it guitar? Or you know what is it? What would you say it is?
Um, uh, it
And it
gets. I don't like to think about it.
doesn't have to be,
Yeah,
but
I don't like to think about it really
yeah,
because it's kind of um
it's limiting for one.
actually, yeah, because I actually watched yesterday. I was anticipating the interview. I actually watched the interview with Jonah Nilsson, and
Oh yeah.
it was weirdly. I really like the fact that he said that he doesn't. There was a part in there where he said that him and Aaron had a conversation, and they saw themselves as sort of forget what their main instrument is, and it's more about
Oh
making the whole thing.
yeah.
I think
Right.
that certainly comes in to play. Although I find myself like getting in and out of this thing because okay, sorry, I'm going on a tangent,
No,
but
that's okay.
the short answer is guitarist because I started on
Yeah.
guitar
Yeah.
and that's the thing that made the most sense to me. I sort of taught myself music on guitar as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I was like at the time it was some of the early days of YouTube and stuff, and there wasn't but there were like websites for like
Mm-hmm.
get like guitar websites where I'd
Mm-hmm.
like to download
Oh yeah.
like little short free lessons of
Yeah.
learning, you know, some guy saying this is the harmonic minor scale, like the harmonic minor metal scale. I'm like, yeah. Like,
I like your American accent when you said that.
yeah. Yeah, and
Learn this.
yeah,
Learn
learned it.
this. If you want to do
Hey,
metal, if you want to really play metal, you got to learn harmonic minor, man.
yeah, exactly.
Oh
I'll give
man.
you the keys to the Lamborghini. I don't know if do you know that?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know.
Michelangelo.
Yes.
But
Oh
yeah,
gosh.
with I was just gonna say with the singing thing, it
Mm,
was only I kind of it's kind of weird how I got into it because I just wanted to be a guitarist really,
mm.
and then every now and again I'd sing when I was younger,
Oh.
and people would say like, oh yeah, you've got a pretty good voice. I had a friend
Oh
who
yeah.
was like, oh yeah, you if you worked on it, you know, you'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
And then there was one band I auditioned. They were looking for a singer, and actually at that point, I kind of convinced myself that I should try to get in the band as a singer because I think I was into this thing of like I wanted to put myself in like uncomfortable
Yeah.
situations,
Yeah. Yeah.
and B, I was also writing a lot of songs where I kind of figured it would be better if I just sang them rather than asking someone
Yeah.
else to sing them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just probably kind of a
Yeah. I get that.
typical story, really. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then and then I was like very much involved with this band, and I learned a lot from that band. And we, I was like the main singer. I was playing some keys as well, and I would be playing guitar. Um, and it was like kind of rock style singing, and
Mm.
and I remember having like a lot of problems when we were like doing tours with
Mm.
like the health of my voice, because I didn't really know what I was doing. I had like a good
Oh,
tone and all, but I didn't really know what I was doing. So I like
well, I mean, and
studied
also
technique.
you're because I've heard some of this stuff, and I don't know if this band was this style too, but like in No Name Faces, it's like you're really screaming in some of it.
Yeah,
So it's like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
raw, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
we did our first show together like uh quite in when was it again? Was it October? I think we did it in October in
Was there a
Stockholm.
video of it
Yeah, there is a
online? I
video,
saw
yeah.
it.
Yeah. Did you? Okay,
I saw
cool.
it. Yeah, yeah,
Cool,
yeah,
cool,
yeah.
cool,
Yeah, it was
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that was like yeah, I had to prepare myself quite a lot to sort of, because there's a lot of things you can do in a studio, obviously, when you take breaks and stuff. And
Yeah.
because I kind of
Yeah.
got good at like belting and stuff like that, because
Yeah.
I kind of same thing with like Frank Gambale's got his DVDs, like
Yeah.
with the gym thing where he's wearing gym clothes. I had I had a I had a similar phase with singing. I'd like bought a DVD from this very camp guy with like long hair and being like, "Do you want to sing like this?" Like,
Yeah.
like and I'm like, "Yeah, I want to sing like that." So,
I
yeah,
love it. Oh my God.
yeah. So
That's great, dude.
yeah. So it was very, but that was cool. It's a guy called Ken Tamplin, by the way, for
I
anyone
know
who
it is
knows.
with the tongue.
Yeah, with the tongue.
With the tongue.
Yeah, it's really embarrassing. If anyone like walked in, saw what I was doing with this guy going like, guys, you got to go That's the yeah, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh God, this is so embarrassing. But
It's-
all right,
but he has results, man, because all of his students are killer.
he's awesome. He's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool that you know him.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, because yeah. I that was really awesome to find his stuff, because it was like
Mhm.
I was looking for things like I wanted to get better at singing, but in the rock kind of way,
Right.
So he had that.
He did.
All the tech
Absolutely.
yeah, all the techniques are like from bel canto, so it's from
Yeah.
classical, but he's like adapted it in a way that's useful for like rock singing. So and it's
Right.
fucking great. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. So
Yeah, and there's not a lot out there. I mean, teaching in this style, I mean, that's really valuable because it's like, you don't want to start from square one. Here's how you do it. Here's your vibrato. Let's sing some opera. And it's like, that's not what I want to learn. I don't want to learn
yeah,
that. I want to learn rock. I want to get chicks.
yeah, I want to get chicks. Yeah, but now I'm super interested in opera. I went in a bit of a like rabbit hole of like
Oh,
like the different in the classical world, they're quite funny when when you hear like stories of like old masters like talking about techniques, and they're very like fussy in the way,
mm-hmm.
you know um
Yeah.
in how they explain it and how their students should do it. And there's a very it's kind of like mystical almost, when
Yeah.
they explain the technique. It's like they say
Right.
things like they called it like the
It,
uh like
it's
invisible air or something,
oh
oh yeah, the air has to like pass through the
yeah.
roof of your mouth, and
Yeah.
almost like, and there's no pressure. Yeah, anyway,
This is
yada yada.
arcane knowledge handed down through the
Yes,
generations.
exactly. Yeah,
It's
but they're
it's
trying to explain the sensation. So
oh
I get what I get where they're getting at, but it's like
yeah,
today, like
yeah,
we're so used to explaining things in very like analytical terms, tangible,
yeah,
terminology.
yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you well, so it's getting back to Brian Nash, because I want to talk about the other guys on this list here, but
Hmm.
how did that all come about and what did you do in that group?
Oh yeah, I was playing bass. And
Playing
yeah,
bass.
yeah.
I was
And
playing bass.
yeah, and he's an awesome guy, and that was really fun.
Oh my
That
gosh.
was super fun playing bass.
Was he doing any Frankie stuff, or was he
Yeah,
doing his own?
we did some Frankie songs.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
we played some really big we played some really big shows actually, like sold out shows in London. And I just I used to there's a bunch of there's actually a covers band I play with, bunch of Irish guys,
Mhm.
and there was like a English guy as well in the group. But
Mhm.
like I was, yeah, it was like a local pub I was going to, and I kind of auditioned because they didn't audition. They were already kind of friends of mine, but they were doing like a Led Zeppelin tribute band, and that was
Mm.
really fun for me because I actually
Oh
didn't know.
yeah.
I didn't know a lot about Led Zeppelin, so I learned through them. So
Oh wow.
and
And what did you do in that group?
they were like, yeah, we
Tell
need a bass
space?
player. So that
Oh.
group, the
Oh.
drummer knew I was a guitarist, but they needed a bass player, and he was just
Right.
like, yeah, I reckon you could do it,
Yeah.
and so I kind of tried
Oh,
to
John
learn
Paul
as
Jones is no slouch, man. That
yeah,
guy,
exactly, yeah,
whew, he
yeah,
doesn't
that
get enough
I
credit. He does not get enough credit in that band, I'll tell you.
indeed.
Whew.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's awesome, and it's especially when you think of the time as well.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
the setting and everything that
Yeah.
it was done in, and you know, it's funny things like that. Um, because I didn't really grow up on things like Led Zeppelin. Like my
Right.
parents just weren't into that.
Yeah.
I know I've got some
Yeah.
friends my age. I'm not using my age as an excuse because I've got friends my age who have parents who are like really into like
Yeah.
70s rock and stuff like that. But
Totally.
I just didn't grow up with that. I grew up with things like um uh, uh, uh Peter Gabriel and things like that.
Oh,
More stuff like
because your
that.
dad?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and Sting. That's sort of what I grew up on,
Yeah.
and the Police, but not
Yeah.
and the Beatles, but
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
like the yeah, like the 70s prog. But I got
Right.
introduced to it, so that was a really cool
Into
phase.
who? You got into who?
The like 70s prog stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Um, it's funny that you're playing bass. I didn't expect that. I didn't
so
expect you to
yeah,
say you're playing bass.
sorry. So yeah, massive tangent once again. Apologies for that,
Oh no, no, no.
but that they knew Brian Nash. Brian Nash was like a local dude,
Mm,
you know. He's like the Scouser. He's
yeah.
from Liverpool,
Oh yeah, nice.
and I actually it was kind of funny because I didn't understand quite a few
You
things.
couldn't understand him?
Yeah, yeah,
It was
yeah,
pretty heavy scouse.
yeah. He's got a
Pretty
really
heavy.
strong Scouse accent.
I love that accent though,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
I love that.
It's great.
Yeah.
I'd play. I'd like and thing I love about playing bass is that I get to like again because I'm sort of like getting into harmony and stuff. You know,
Hmm.
change the bass notes and stuff. And he'd look at me. He'd be like, "That's a bit sus. That's a bit sus, mate." It's like,
You're doing inversions on the
yeah,
bass. He's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
don't
I was
ever
like,
do a
nah.
second
Yeah,
inversion
yeah,
again.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You are not
yeah.
allowed to.
Even like putting the four in the bass or whatever.
On a Saturday night, I'll let you play
Yeah,
the third of the chord, but
yeah.
that's Saturday nights only, man, for that. But what's funny is
Super nice guy though.
you're a hell of a bass player too, and I've heard you. And not only are you an incredible bass player, you are an incredible bass player on a guitar.
Oh,
Because I saw a
all right.
video of you slapping
All right. Okay.
on a freaking guitar, dude. And I had to like, is that a 6-string bass? Because that's ridiculous. Because that sounds like a freaking bass.
It's a six
Um,
string bass with thin strings.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because man, I mean, I play a little bass too, and I'm like, the strings are so close together. How you're able to get that, because it doesn't feel the same slapping on a guitar. The
No,
action's
yes, yeah,
different,
it's very
everything's
different.
different, man.
Yeah, it's very different. Yeah, I got that. That's from early days of watching, early days of YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
or oring at Guthrie Govan. He has
Oh
like
yeah,
he had this video where he was like slapping with like an envelope filter, and he'd be
yeah.
like,
Oh,
so sick.
it
And
sounds great
yeah,
on a
yeah,
guitar. I mean,
yeah. It
I
sounds
was
awesome.
surprised how good it sounded.
Yeah, it
Um,
sounds. I love the sound on. Yeah, I love the sound of that on
I
guitar.
mean,
I
it's
haven't managed to use it a lot,
Eh,
but I want
I'll
to. I
tell you,
plan on using it though.
please
For
do. It would be incredible to see you like shredding on the guitar and then have a break that was a total funk breakdown and you're slapping on the freaking guitar. Oh, dude, that'd be so cool.
to be fair, yeah, you got guys like yeah, Tosin Abassi
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the guys in Polyphia doing that stuff
Hmm.
now. So
Yep.
it's great. Yeah, yeah. No, I'm glad you like that because sometimes people get a bit funny about that. Guitar purists. I think
Yeah,
that's going away now, but there was a bit of a
yeah,
phase, like maybe like 5 years ago
yeah, yeah,
or a
totally.
bit more. But people were just guitarists would be so weird about that. But
How
I
dare
which I
you?
don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
How
know.
dare you do that
Like
to our
any
instrument?